Accepting on the behalf of PG&E, the Chairman, President, CEO, Mr. Peter Darbee.
Well, first of all, I'd really like to extend my thanks to Tate and Stephen for those very kind words. I am humbled by their remarks, and I want to thank you all for the applause and the recognition of PG&E. You know, I want to say first and foremost that nothing that a CEO ever does is the result of his or her actions alone. And never can that be more true than when it comes to our spirit of environmentalism and sustainability at PG&E. This is an effort that is the result of the work and the dedication of people that are here today from the company, but also 20,000 men and women who get excited about the opportunity to help in the battle for sustainability of our planet. I want to thank Global Green for their partnership that we've enjoyed for a period of years. And I think the work that Global Green is doing and the enumeration tonight of the many great efforts is really extraordinary. And I just want to encourage you to keep up this very, very important work. I also want to congratulate the honorees from tonight, the different efforts. And, you know, whenever I get together at an event such as this, I see the good work and the commitment of so many other people that are engaged in this battle, the battle which is the greatest challenge that mankind has ever faced and may be the greatest challenge mankind ever faces going forward. You know, our work at PG&E on the environment didn't just start in 2005, but it's actually taken place over the course of 30 years where we've become a leader in energy efficiency and also on the renewables front. But certainly in the last 5 years or so, particularly since the sessions that we had with Stephen Schneider and other leaders on the environment, we've accelerated ahead, both in the work we're doing in trying to reduce our carbon footprint, but also our work in being a leader as an advocate on this very important issue. I want to thank Stephen and the other great scientists that we met with. We had an experience that was unlike, from what I understand, any other corporation in America. Because when the issue came up and I was a new CEO in 2005, in January, I said, so where are we on this issue of climate change? And we didn't have a definitive point of view at that time. But what we did was we asked ourselves, how do we get to the bottom of this? And so with the assistance of a number of different people, we got in and we called in the most important scientists on both sides of this issue. And the result of that was that we found that there was an overwhelming pile of evidence that really suggested the conclusions that we came to at that time, which was the Earth is warming, mankind is responsible, and the need for action is now. Today, that isn't such an extraordinary revelation, but in 2005, late 2005 and early 2006, it was. And so when we came out and made those comments publicly, a lot of people stepped back and took note of the position that we had taken. So I think this was a very good process we went through because it created a really solid foundation. And when you have a sound foundation based on a review of the facts, the analysis, and a lot of self-reflection as a management team, then it gives you great conviction and great commitment. And that's what we have, and that's what we've been moving forward with. So since then, we worked hard to reduce our emissions. We will continue to work hard to reduce our emissions, and I think if you follow us as a company going forward, you will see more of that progress in coming months. We also feel that it's so important to be an advocate locally, in our state, and also in Washington, to try and convince our policymakers today to do the right thing, to have courage, and to plan for a better tomorrow, a tomorrow for our children and our grandchildren. So this is indeed a great challenge, and it will have to take all of our efforts and the efforts of many more before we get over the hurdles and the obstacles that are standing in the way. I want to leave with you 3 thoughts tonight. The first is, it's such a great tragedy. It's such a great tragedy that this scientific issue has been politicized, and that it comes down to Democrats versus Republicans, conservatives versus liberals. It is so unfortunate because this is basically an issue of science, and what the science shows is the facts are overwhelming, that climate change is here, and we need to conquer this challenge. The second is to pose to you all a challenge. And that challenge is, so how do we reframe this issue so it's not political? How can we have a dialogue with those that are either moderates or even to the right of the center to open up their minds, to engage in a discussion with them where we can talk about the science and we can put aside the politics involved, the politics that cloud people's minds and can't let them look at the reality. And the last thought I wanted to leave with you is one of hope, similar to what others have spoken about tonight. And that is, there is great hope in our youth. I see that in my children. I see it in my grandchildren. And that's so important. You know, it was only a few years ago when you came to the Tuck School at Dartmouth, and there were 3 people who showed up for the PG&E interview company presentation. And there were only a few people that showed up at the University of Chicago Business School. Well, I'm happy to report today that nearly 80% of the people at the Tuck School come to hear the PG&E presentation. And I heard a report recently that there were over 120 people who came to the Chicago presentation, or our presentation at the University of Chicago Business School. And the reason that that's so important is because I think it's evidence that the young people today see the problem. They're willing to look into the facts, and they know that it's about their future and their children's future, and they feel this incredible commitment to do something about this problem. So I pose as a challenge to us all to see how we can leverage off of them to turbocharge the work we're currently doing today and to break through the critical point of resistance that we get so that we can have in place the necessary carbon legislation, that we can be pursuing energy efficiency the way we need to, so we can have the renewable generation, and so we can have the smart grid that's necessary, and everything else that we need to overcome this tremendous challenge. Thank you, and good night.